Everyone, and welcome to my little corner of the ball jointed doll universe. My name is Jordan Fox, and I'm so excited to finally start my channel. This is a channel where creativity, storytelling, and tiny articulated hands come to life. And whether you're deep into the hobby or just discovering the magic of BJDs for the first time, you're all welcome here. So in this channel, I'll be sharing unboxings, customizations, diorama building, BJD care, probably eye making, a little bit of sewing, and definitely some late night ramblings about characters I spent way too much time dreaming up, and I have many of them. So grab some coffee or tea, settle in, and let's build this little world together. And we're going to start with my first doll that I ever purchased. And how I got into the hobby was a girl was walking along in a convention that I used to help run locally here, an anime convention. I was a cosplayer, so I was into creativity, but I'd always been into creativity to the point of where I was copying other people's costumes, and even though I was good at it, getting into the ball jointed world was amazing for me because I could use my own imagination and do my own things. So let's start with my first doll. This is Uriel. He is a CP Delph L. I purchased him from Lutz.com. His character history is that he is a black dragon vessel, and there are only 7 vessels in Horiath, which is the world that he lives in. His doll company, like I said, is Lutz, but he was made by Cerberus Project, and the two companies used to work together until Cerberus Project split and ended up making their own dolls, which is the Fairyland dolls, the Feeble dolls. So they do have some L molds in those, but they call them lookbacks. The heads are a bit smaller, the bodies are definitely different. So you can still buy them, but you have to keep your eyes out usually on the secondhand market if you want one like Uriel. And originally when I started in this hobby, the first doll I was going to get is from a defunct company called Dream of Doll. I was going to get a Dream of Doll Alf Ducan full set, but unfortunately a week before I got the rest of the money that I needed to purchase a doll, that doll went out of stock. So my second thought was to get a CP Delph Wusu, which is the same brand as Uriel, just a different face. And of course they sold out in 2005, I quickly found out. So it was back to the drawing board, and then I ended up getting an L, and I've not looked back since. He's the best. L was probably the most popular mold at the time, as well as the Shiwu. They had elf versions come out, but those were sold long before I got a chance to get a bid in on elves because I love myself some pointy ears. But Uriel is exactly who he needs to be, and he's a beauty white skin tone, which in some instances turned green or banana yellow. But that's just because I kept him out in the sun. So if you decide to collect these dolls, it's a good idea to not have them in direct sunlight for long periods of time. So Uriel is the Lord of Shadowhold in a place called Horiath, which is in my first book, The Etherfire Conflict, and he is the main character of the story and the one who started it all. And he's also the one that encouraged me to play and to be imaginative. So we're just going to go along to the top shelf, and then we'll just move along down the bottom ones, and I'm going to do each character. So this is a Gem of Doll Gaia. She is a full set, painted and everything by the company. She is named Gaia in my stories, and when I purchased her, it was because she looks exactly like the character, how I would kind of picture the character, very celestial. Their details in that company are very good. The dolls are very solid, and they stand very well outside the box. She's kind of the goddess of light, so she doesn't really have a place where she comes from. And I think you can still buy some of the full sets are available. I don't feel like she was very popular, which I don't really understand why, because she's so pretty. I'm just going to get a little closer here on her face-up. So the face-ups and paintings from Gem of Doll are exactly like you see on the website. I'm very impressed with her makeup, her tattoos, everything is very ethereal, her dress is beautiful. Highly recommend this company. So we're just going to go to the gentleman beside her now. This is Orion. He is a soul doll Caleb in, I think it's mint blue. In person, it's not quite as green as it looks. He's definitely a darker blue. And I keep my doll's resin looking good by keeping all my windows done with water-based film that you can put on that's UV film, so that way you don't have the sun coming in here and discoloring them. So like I said earlier, you know, Uriel's resin did discolor over time because I had him with me everywhere I went, and so he is a bit banana yellow in some spots. But yeah, makeup was done by a friend of mine, and his costume was one that I had already, and I believe a lot of those pieces are actually real gold, which I was shocked about, but he is quite pretty. Let's get in there a little bit closer so you can see some details. So we're going to move on to the gentleman beside him now. This lovely gentleman's name is Bastian Silverhallow. He is an elf and a high valet from Venez, which is in Haraeth, at a coastal city. He is from Migidol, but his body is from Volks because it's a good match. And he is a Ryu vampire elf, and he does have pointy ears. You can't buy these guys anywhere except for on the second-hand market, and he makes an appearance in the second book, The Dragon's Heart. So this gigantic man is named Lysander. Earthale, in the books, he's more of a tan color, but I did buy this on the secondhand market, so I didn't have a choice of skin tone at the time. His outfit I really love is a reproduction from one of my favorite movies, done by Walid Houchar Creations, which I will tag if I remember for you to visit him later. But he is a white dragon. He is the white dragon vessel. He makes his appearance in the Other Fire Conflict, the first book, as well as the other books moving forward. He is a YC doll or Yisun doll Wookiee, and he was painted by a friend of mine. Lysander was the second doll that I got, and when I originally got him, he was a Dalshi Sa Saint. And the Sa Saint has gone through a few different transitions, the eyes getting squintier as time went on, and he did have a changeover quite a few times, but I found that the Dalshi bodies, while at the time were the bigger dolls, they're now not quite as large as the new dolls that you can get. So a lot has changed for him over the past few years. So this is Casimir Runar. He is in the second book, The Dragon's Heart, and he is a human, but things kind of change for him as his life goes on, so I won't really get into that because it's explained in the book. He is a Let's Delve Dreaming L, though his eyes have been modded open, and he does have ear piercings, which is really nice. Again, another one that you can't buy just unless you're doing it on the second-hand market. And his outfit, I believe, is another one that's got real gold in it. And it was quite a long wait for this outfit, but as you can see, it was worth it with all the little details that it has. And so that's Casimir. Moving on. So this is Yaceris. He is a CP Delft Wusu, which is the dolls that I was trying to get before I picked Uriel. And he is no longer available to buy. You definitely have to buy him secondhand, and you're probably going to be spending about $800 to $950 or more for this doll if you find him. He is a Red Dragon clan member, and he is on his lap he's holding Willow, who makes an appearance in the second book. Yaceris is in the first and the second book and moving forward. Willow is a Blue Dragon clan member, and as you can see, she is a child that he basically adopts in the second book, but I won't get too deep into that because you'll have to read the book. Willow is a Volks Chinatsu. She is a USD size, so Uriel and Yaceris are 1/3 size dolls. Willow would be considered 1/6. So this guy here is Akhenaten. He is Lutz Senior Delft Abaddon, but he is on a Krobi doll body, and this is another outfit made by Walid. I just sent Walid a picture for this one, and he did his own kind of thing with it. He is a Reaper, and that gets revealed in the second book, but there's a lot more to it than just that. And I believe you can still buy these guys on Lutz.com, but the bodies would be different. He is also from Shadowhold, just like Yaceris and Uriel and Lysander, and this is all taking place in Horiath. This is Karma Logair. She is a Sylph, and she is a Universe doll Mega Era. She used to be a Elf doll Sua, but the Elf doll Suas, they don't have pointy ears, and the ones that do I found aren't pointy enough for how big Sylph ears are. And so I put out a want to buy for girls with elf ears and ended up coming up with this lady at a really good price, so I couldn't resist. I love her gumdrop eyes. They are the way Sylph eyes are without pupils, and so she is a wind elemental. This is Yggdrasil. He is another CP Delft Wusu. Both of them are in a white skin, so that's why I keep all my windows covered, especially to preserve them. He of the two of them have the Wusu hands, which is the thumbs up and the little weird, I'm not really sure, wave hand that he's got there. I've done many ridiculous things with that thumbs up hand, as you can imagine. And so he is another Red Dragon clan member and makes an appearance in the second book, The Dragon's Heart. This is Nilith. He is a Dalsum Zack in the powder blue skin. You can't buy these guys. Sometimes they do re-releases though on dalsum.com, so if you keep your eyes open, sometimes they do those re-releases, or you can get them to email you if this is something that you want to take a look at. Not always do they give them the special skin tones. Sometimes they're tan, sometimes they're normal skin, sometimes they come like this. But he was painted by my friend Jade again, and so I don't really move him around a lot because Sum resin tends to scratch really easily. His outfit is also from Sum. I believe it was one of their Egyptian dolls that this outfit was sold for. I got it on the second-hand market. And that's Nilith. So this table here is from a different series called The Vampires of LA. It's more of like a darker story, obviously, about vampires, werewolves, and angels. And so we'll just start with the beginning over here with Legion. So Legion is from a company called Sum, so Dalsum. They are a demon slash angel. They kind of, you know, sit in between the two, but he is basically like he is in the Bible, where Legion is many, and so he basically sits in a room basically by himself and keeps watch over everything for the light god Yeshu. He is a R-Heliot, so the romantic Heliot is the only one that has the crystallized horn on his head, and he's not one that you can get. You have to buy him secondhand on the market. Beside him is his little slave friend. This is Arya. He is a human, and he is a CP Delph Eater, another one that you have to buy on the secondhand market. And he is a slave, but he is a slave by choice. So these two are always sitting together. And believe it or not, his lovely chair, which is kind of hard to see, I guess, is actually a fruit bowl. If you keep your eyeballs peeled, you can find some really interesting things for your dolls. So we're just going to move down to the next guy. He's at the bottom of the list here. This is Camuel. He is a K-Doll Charon on a Doll in Mind body. Sorry, it's been a while. And you can see he's got half black, half white. I made this outfit. This outfit is representative of the 3 archangels in my stories, and that's why they all have similar outfits, but he kind of straddles the line as far as what his placement is for Yeshu. So the archangels in my stories are basically the only way that Yeshu can come into the 3rd dimension, which is our dimension, and he is not one of the 2 that can be Yeshu's voice here on our planet, but he does kind of straddle the line, and I won't get into too much more on that. So beside him, this is the Archangel Michael. He is also from the 1st realm, just like the rest of the angels, and he is a CP Delph Breakaway. Now the Breakaway is actually just a different version of an L. They've got an open mouth and their eyes are just a little bit different, but their makeup is pretty much the same as far as the structure of their face. There was 2 different versions that came out for him first. This one is a 2005, which has more of like an angular face, and then the 2008, I believe, has, oh no, it's the opposite, sorry. The 2005 has a more rounded face, and the 2008 reprints had more of an angular face, so they are different. Again, this is one that you could get only secondhand. It's on the secondhand market, though he wouldn't cost as much as a Wusu, I'm pretty sure. So this is Yeshu. He is a Dalsum Sard in gray skin. I'm not sure who did his face up. That was done when I got him. And he is the light god from like the light realm. And he's a little bit newer. He doesn't have the hooves. I might buy hooves for him at another time. But he is not a very good guy. We'll just leave it at that. So beside him is the Archangel Gabriel. He is a CP Delph Moon, and he was painted by my friend Jade. His outfit was made by me. Same thing with the Archangel Michael. So you can see his is white and gold. With his, the sun is up, whereas over here you can see the sun is down and the moon is up. You can't really see it behind there, but I made these costumes for my angels. They are the gateway angels and the voice of Yeshu, and they're the only way that he can reach our realm. So this priest beside him, this is Father Peter Murphy. He is a CP Delph Romantic Breeze, and I just kind of got him on a whim because I saw one that was really cute online, and then I found his head for cheap. His body ended up being his merely because I bought it for somebody else, and then I just happened to have all the priest stuff that I could put together, and then I made the collar. Aside from that, he wasn't a planned character whatsoever, but now he's actually become quite an important character in the Vampires of LA series, which tends to happen with me sometimes. So this is Lucian. He is a vampire. So the priest beside him, is a human, but this guy is not a very nice guy. He ends up being the Messiah, and all sorts of crazy things happen because of him. He is a Ringdoll Dracula. You cannot buy the Ringdoll Draculas anymore unless you get them secondhand, or unless they potentially do a re-release, which Ringdoll does do from time to time. Ringdoll is my second favorite company aside from the Delphs from Lutz back in 2006. Their bodies differ in size quite often, but they are actually quite articulate. They pose well out of the box. I have nothing but all the good things to say about Ringdoll. I love them. You're going to hear Ringdoll a lot, just like Delph a lot. So this handsome guy beside him is named Seikyu. He is a vampire. He's the head vampire, and he's part of what's called the Ennead, which is actually a bunch of gods in Egypt. But in my stories, they were the origin of the vampires here in the Third Realm. And he's not a nice guy. He does not like to drink blood, but he will eat your heart, and he will take it from you whether you like it or not. Everybody say hi to Seikyu. And he is a Ringdoll Ashford 2.0, I believe. He's a Ringdoll Ashford Evo. I believe you can still buy him on the website, and he's a little bit smaller than a lot of the other dolls, and I don't know, it's really like him. He's got attitude, and he likes to wear black pleather because blood stains everything else, and he can just wash himself off with a hose. We're going to move on down to the next levels. Okay, so now we're down to the next level here, and as you can see, there's a lot of flowers and lights and that kind of stuff. I'll see if I can dim my light here so you can see the lights a little bit better. So I do like to have my dolls in more of like a diorama style, and I found that I didn't really like how small book tables were, like bookshelves. They didn't give me enough space for what it is that I want to do, which you can see is very detailed. So I ended up getting myself IKEA tables that really didn't cost very much money, and put them together, and I just used them as shelves instead. I'm very much inspired by the museum dioramas and that kind of stuff, so that's why I have my dolls the way that I do. I get a lot of joy from this room. And so anyways, let's start with these guys here. So while I was talking about the Wusus being very rare, I often feel like Shinji Fox, who's in both books so far, he is a sleeping Delph Harangue. He is not one that I've seen come up for sale very often, so again, you can't really buy him unless you're looking on the secondhand market. He does have an open eye version, which I think I've seen maybe come up once before, but I didn't personally like the shape of the eyes of the open-eyed version, but I really thought that the sleeping version really worked well for the character, because when he fights, a lot of times he just uses his ears, and so sometimes he'll just close his eyes and just claw everybody's face off. So that's why I really enjoy him as a character. His outfit is something pretty vintage, from a person who used to make dolls, but they did more clothing than they did dolls. That's Heisen Xiao, which was one of my favorite people to buy clothing from. And beside him, this lovely lady, her name is Taya, and her and Shinji are a couple, where he is a Kitsune demon, she is a Nikojin demon, and they live in Harayath with Uriel and all those guys. And so Taya is a magician, that's why she's got a staff that I've made her. You can see she's got a lot of details in her clothing. Fun fact, Dee clothing tends to fit Delph if you find the right stuff. It came with the ears, she has a tail, they both have a tail. I rather enjoy these two as a couple and also in the books because they are the type to do like fun banter while they're fighting things, just kind of like you do with the game Dragon Age, which I'm a huge fan of. But yeah, she is a CP Delph leash, and the leash is basically like the sister to the Delph L, or the female version of an L. And originally when I got this doll, I thought that she might be Uriel's sister, but Uriel doesn't know any of his family, so I changed that rather quickly. And then she picked this character, So this gentleman beside her, he is a CP Delph Luen, and again, another one you can't just buy anymore, you have to do the secondhand market. He also has a twin brother, which I will get to in a few moments, but the CP Luen has pointy ears, again, no longer sold, and a lot of his stuff is actually stuff that I've made. I also mix and match from other companies as well. One thing I like about Delph is their hands are very expressive. You can interchange them. There's a lot of different expressions and poses in them. His mask, I did all the beads and feathers and everything, but the 3D print at the front was done by Crack Up Madness, which I can tag if you're interested in purchasing some awesome 3D prints. And so he is a sylph, and he is from Mistcliff, which is in Horiath. The whole story behind the sylphs and their floating city is that they just appeared out of nowhere 113 years past, and the dragonkind and humans are basically left searching for scraps when it comes to magic because they stole all the magical springs that flow from Horiath's heart. But he is from a group called the Rakad, and basically their group is somebody, or a group of people that oppose the Sylph monarchy, as well as they kind of collect people that are refugees and take care of them and that kind of stuff. So this gorgeous guy, he is a elf doll red. And the reason why they called him red is because when they first sculpted his cute little face, it was done out of red clay, so I thought that was kind of cute. His horns are from Leek World. They're the Leek World Goral horns. They're quite large and heavy. They need huge, huge magnets. And his face-up was done by my friend Jade. I know I don't go with clothes and face-ups and stuff with everybody, but you'll see that his hands are very static. I like to call that the serving you drinks on a tray pose. And that's ultimately why I didn't get a bunch of elf dolls, is because of that hand pose is very static both for the men and the women. So beside him, this is Galleon. He is Irian's brother, and Irian She is this gentleman. So he is the vampire version with squintier eyes of Irian. The nice thing about him is that his head molds, like when a head mold is older, it tends to shrink. And when I first bought these dolls straight from the company, the head molds, he could fit male Delph bodies no problem, but when I bought these ones on the secondhand market, and I know that they're legit because like they've got like Lutz face-ups, but when I got him, he must have been in where the head mold has shrunk a little because the head is a bit smaller. I couldn't find a body that I could put him on, and I tried type 1, type 2, type 3 with the neck keys, which is what he has, and I couldn't find a body that he fit. He just looked like a giraffe perched on top of like a popsicle stick. It was not great. And so one day I had purchased a secondhand Delph where it was a female body where the breasts were sanded off, And so I just decided to make that part of his story. And I do like diversity, so I ended up making him a trans man. And so the body underneath doesn't align with who he is on the inside. And so his story, I'm not sure if I'm going to tell it anywhere. And if I do, it might be something like Patreon instead of the books, because it's not really integral to the story, and there's a lot of story to tell. But all of these guys are from the Rakad, and they are all opposed to the Sylph monarchy. We're going to move to the next area. So this tiny area, these are the guys that are from Moraris. There are assassins. The guy on the very right doesn't make an appearance until the third book, but the other two are in the first and second books. So we're going to start with this gorgeous lady with the hazel eyes. So this is Marla. She's assumed Gina. They do not sell these anymore. Again, you'll have to get her on the secondhand market, just like all the Rakad individuals. I'm not sure who did her face up. I bought her secondhand that way. And one thing that I really enjoy about her is the body has smaller breasts than a lot of them, and they do still have the nice expressive hands, which is great. So Marla is a human, but she usually dabbles with poisons, but she's also an archer, so she can kind of shoot your eyeball out at 100 paces. So this gentleman beside her, this is Eldrick Walker. He's in all three of my books, and he is the head assassin, which is known as the Owari of Moraris, and he is cute because I love my crabby faced boys. He's got an original face up from the company, and even though it's very simple, I've left it that way because of nostalgia reasons. These dolls, you can find them to have jointed hands, so you can pose them, wire them, that kind of thing. And his outfit I just kind of put together from a bunch of different pieces. Some of you may notice that his shoulder piece there is actually from the Lizard King set from Lutz. The clasps I put on myself. The coat just came in a group of stuff that I had. And his boots again are from Heisei, I believe. Just goes to show big stompy boots. You know that those are back in like the emo days, 2006, when the dolls first started out. So this guy beside him, he originally started as a character of somebody else's dolls, and so I had to rebrand him, and I think I like his rebranding a little bit better. He is a gem of doll Jessen, and his name is Dorian Sylvester, and Sylvester is his last name because I had an uncle go missing in 1998. They never found him, and so we believe that he's no longer with us here on this realm. And so I thought to kind of immortalize him in a character of my choosing. Dorian is a gem of doll Jessen and Tanskin. His eyes and wig I made because he's part of the Green Dragon clan, and as you can see, he's kind of like a roguish character, which reminds me a lot of my Uncle Darwin. And even though I call him he, it's just because he's got a male body, but the character in the books is going to be non-binary like me. And so that is Dorian. And again, with Gem of Doll, they just kind of pose great right out of the box, and I really enjoy their hand expressions as well. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next area. Thank you for following along. So this is the next area. As you can see, the left-hand side has not been completed yet. I'm still working on the walls for those. I tend to do things in spurts as I am inspired. That's the nice thing about ADHD and this hobby, is you can sew, make wigs, paint eyes, paint faces, or make props, and you can just kind of do it a little bit as long as you have the space to do so. So we're going to start with this gorgeous lady here in the corner. This is Hilo. She is the queen of the Grim Reapers, and she is assumed Migma in gray skin, although they will say that it's a violet skin. It's definitely more gray. Perhaps she was more violet when she was originally purchased. I don't know because I got her secondhand, and she's definitely been gray since I've gotten her. I purchased her on the secondhand market just because I loved her face up, and originally she was a male on a Delft Shiwu, but I changed that up and it just kind of ended up going better with my stories. Her dress I made out of one of my own dresses. Nice and sparkly. In her hands, I don't really have a name. It's just a Doll Zone baby. These characters I just kind of bought because I got like 5 of those little dolls for like $100, so I just couldn't resist. So beside her, this is Mao Onotake. He is the devil or the morning star. He is mentioned in the first few books. I'm not sure if he's going to make an appearance until after the Dragons of Shadowhold. He's wearing a costume that I made, and he is a Dalshi Sa hound, and I just liked him because he's very smirky. Now, just a warning about Dalshi: if you're going to purchase these dolls, don't get it from the website, even though the website is still existing. There are people that have been waiting for their dolls for over 6 years, which is absolutely terrible, and I'm not a fan of that happening to people at all. People are still waiting either to get their money back or to get their dolls. And so if you're going to get a Dalshi doll, they are beautiful. The bodies are a little bit weird, but unless you clothe them, but they pose really nice, and I can definitely see the aesthetic beauty in them, obviously, because I have 3, but I wouldn't recommend buying it from the company, secondhand only. We're going to move over to the next area. So this area here, as you can see, I have said so in my author profile that I have a rather deep interest in Egyptian mythology. I intersperse it in my books, and so same thing with like the Vampires of LA with like the Ennead and stuff like that. So I really enjoy Egyptian things, the way they look. I played Assassin's Creed Origins because I wanted to be immersed in Egypt. I've also read books that are set in Egypt just so that I can think about it and look at it. The walls I actually made myself, and they were very painstakingly glued and tea-dyed and everything. And this cartouche here on the side, I actually went out of my way to make. It says Los. And this is Los right here. He's the dark god in my stories. He's the first guy who causes trouble, and he's in the first 3 books. He's the one that Uriel is battling. And so when he starts out in the stories, he's a skeletal god, and eventually he will find his way to looking the way that he looks in this area here. But he is a Ringdoll Anubis full set. The face up is by Ringdoll, all the clothes are by Ringdoll, and every detail of Ringdoll just absolutely astounds me at all times. I will forever purchase from this company because their wait times are pretty decent considering what you're getting. The only thing that wasn't part of this full set is his wig. This wig was made by my friend Jade, and she's amazing. She does all sorts of awesome stuff for me. We love Jade. So this gentleman beside him, this is Mekatet, also painted by Jade. He's kind of the darkness. He's the one that, by Los's orders, curses Seikyu and everybody to be vampires in the Vampires of LA series, and he will eventually make an appearance in the books. I'm just not sure where yet. Again, his face up was done by Jade. I just give her the ideas of things that I like, and then she takes them and runs with them, and I'm always very impressed. He is a Ringdoll Amaoni, but he is on a Soom body that I just happen to have, and again, he was a character that I bought because I like the doll, and then, or I just like the head, and then he ended up becoming a character that was quite important to my stories. So these guys are also from the Vampires of LA. The guy on the left, his name is Asima Torres. He is a vampire werewolf hybrid. And his little friend on the side there, his name is Cody. And he's just a human, or what they call a succor, which is a human that is a blood bag basically for vampires. And Asima, he's the second in command vampire of the city, but he is also one of the heads of the biker gang for werewolves, the Lunar Reapers. So he kind of dips his toes in both worlds, though he does tend to align more with the vampires because he's got more power within the vampire sect. He is a Sum R Hyperon, and he's got pointy ears. The R Hyperon was actually a doll that I considered a grail, which is, one that you just really want. It's a little bit more difficult to find. I ended up getting him for a really good deal. And the one thing about Sum is, like I said, their resin scratches easily, so you have to be really careful with them. I was putting him back together after sueding his joints, and his shoulder cracked and pieces fell off, and I didn't get very much pressure at all for that to happen. So just be really careful when you're messing with these dolls. Not a lot to see on him because he is he's supposed to be a biker, but he doesn't look like that right now. I need to get him some clothes, so we're still in process here always. So Cody, he's named after one of my late uncles. He is a Volks Koya in white skin. There were two released. There was the Toya, which was a normal skin, and the Koya, which is the white skin. There was a lady that had I think he was a Toya here. When I first started getting into BJDs, I had one of the first meetups. I think the very first doll meetup was in my house here in about 2006, probably like October 10th or so. And I got to meet a lot of people and see what kinds of dolls they had when I got Uriel. And I just kind of fell in love with her doll. His name was Alex at the time. I believe he's a different mold now, but I don't know, there's just something charming about his sad, pouty little face, and so I wanted to get one. And so he is on the SDGR Revival body, which is basically like the SD13 body, but just with an extra joint in the center. These guys are off to the side here because I'm running out of places to put my dolls. This was actually supposed to be a bookshelf. As you can see, some of my books, I've got many more books than this, but I ended up not needing enough space for it, so I just turned the top two into like a park bench, and it fits them perfectly. So this section here is all of my sylphs, well, most of them, the ones that are kind of all on one side, which would be not Uriel's side. These guys all make an appearance in the first books, the Etherfire Conflict. I won't tell you anything about that just because of any of that will give away the ending. The only one that makes it into the next book would be the guy in the center there. It looks like a living bust, and the guy with purple hair on the very right there. So this area I have been working on the most, as you can tell, because I've got more plants and rocks and stuff for him to sit on. I found these giant rocks that Rain is sitting on in my backyard, and so I just cleaned them up and they look perfect for him. So let's zoom in on this guy. So this is Rain Spirus. He is a senior elf Diaz. You can only buy them on the secondhand market. They may or may not make re-releases. I'm not entirely too sure about that. But he is on a Kroby doll body, and the color match is perfect. He's a very stoic and lovely character. And again, he is a sylph from Horiath, or Mistcliff. And I'm not going to tell you what happens to him in the book, but yeah, I rather enjoy how pretty he is. And I did his face up, and his outfit was wallet again. So beside him is the High Magus of Mistcliff, Isfer, the dirty bastard. He is a Dalshi Sa Berman. Again, be wary of Dalshi. Buy only secondhand if you would like a Dalshi doll. But he is, again, the Sylph. He is the High Magus of Mistcliff, and he is a big jerk. I highly recommend slapping him across the face if you come across him. So this is the Oracle. He is a Canarium bust with a 5-star doll dark head, which is already has the third eye in it. I'm not quite done making his wig yet, but it's going to have like eyes in the wig as soon as I can find my eye box. And the Canarium bust has an eye in the center. I just really like the way that this character looked when I put them together, and they ended up becoming a pretty integral part of my stories. So this gentleman is King Vanen Shi. He is the king of Mistcliff, obviously, king of the Sylphs, and he is a gem of doll Fimbulwinter Gals, and he is a full set, and so his painting and everything was done by the company. Came with the crown, with the costume. He even came with the sword that Rain is holding, but Rain took it. He's got his little nails, which is great. Nails and hooves, good way to avoid having to buy shoes, which seems to be the bane of all BJD people. Shoes for their dolls. And so this little guy, his name is Echo. He's a prince of Mistcliff. His brothers are Irian and Galion, which we saw with the Rakad. Again, he's the only one that kind of makes it to the second book. He is the product of like eugenics and experimentation. Isfair and the king are involved in experimenting on children, even their own, and so he ends up being kind of a creature of his own making. And he is a mini-fee elf Shiwu happy hour version, and while he was purchased from Lutz, it was made by the company Cerberus Project, which, like I'd mentioned before, they have their own company now, Fairyland. They don't make the elf Shiwus as far as I know, and if they do reprints, they don't tend to be the same. Things tend to be changed for, I think, copyright reasons, although I'm not entirely sure. So this little cutie on his lap is Yen. He is a Doll's Own Fox. He isn't in any of my stories. He is just basically a play pal for Echo, and he was actually a gift from a couple of generous ladies. They're at Aquaspiral. I want to follow them. They're very kind, very awesome people with awesome dolls. But they gave me this little guy after we hung out in San Francisco at the first ever non-Volks BJD convention. I can't remember what it was called, maybe Delectable, but they are under a different name now. Maybe different people are running it, I'm not too sure. So the only other little doll I have here is this guy. He's not anybody important or anything, but I'll just point him out. He is a Sakura and paper doll. I'm not entirely sure. I got him for like $1 off of Alice's collections. They often have sales where they give away cute stuff like this, and so I got one because I made an order that was probably way too big, and mostly of shoes. So let's move on to the next area. So on the left with the pink hair, he is a Ringdoll Sun C. His name is Julian. Him and Kieran, who's sitting beside him, are from the Vampires of LA stories. And Julian ends up being a sucker, and eventually he will turn into a vampire. And Kieran on the right, he is an elf. Kieran, he is a CP Delph L elf. That was really hard to say. There wasn't very many of these guys made. I have his sleeping vampire head unmodded, which is very difficult to find, but a collector came out of the woodwork and she'd never even given them face-ups really, and so I got him and his brother, well, they're not brothers, but I got him in the sleeping vampire head. And I was quite pleased with that because she even sent along the certificate of authenticity. Now, deaths don't often have certificates. You just know that they're legit because they come with boxes. But I hear that even like boxes are being reproduced now, so you got to be really careful with where you're buying these dolls secondhand. Like eBay is a really bad place to go, that kind of thing. But I got these guys, and I was quite chuffed with the fact that they were in pristine condition because they'd been sitting in a box. Only 68 were made, so 68 open-eyed heads and 68 sleeping vampire heads or dreaming vampire heads are in the world, and these guys were number 57 out of 68, so not too bad. So this is Demetrius and Elian. Demetrius on the left, Elian on the right. Demetrius is the vampire prince in the Vampires of LA. That's why his set has the LA. I'm going to turn this into like a penthouse, but this is another area that's not finished yet. I'm still working on it. And so Demetrius, he is a Yisen doll, Chong Lin E, painted again by my friend Jade. And Elian, he is a Volks F16 boy, even though he looks rather feminine, but he was painted by me. And they are obviously a couple. And I really like the clothing that I have them in, but Elian is a spoiled little brat, and so he gets awesome stuff like all of these. So you can see he's got Birkin bags and all sorts of things galore. The Vampire Prince obviously has way too much money, and he just likes to spend it on pretty much anything, but he will spend most of it on Elian. So it's going to be one of those stories where Elian was kind of broke, and the prince basically takes care of him after a lot of crazy stuff happens. So we're going to move on to the cyberpunk area, one of my favorite areas. Okay, so this is my little cyberpunk area. This one I'm actually quite proud of. All the little pieces and stuff are either collected from friends, or I've made them, or I got them at the dollar store. I love cyberpunk just as much as I love Egyptian stuff, and the same thing with like diesel punk or steampunk, which I do have an area for as well, but that will be the last one. But again, the cyberpunk area, I made this little thing here out of pieces I got from the dollar store. This little thing on the right here I got from the dollar store just automatically. That green thing was a gift from a friend. The little gumball machine was a Christmas ornament. And so let's start with this lovely lady. This is Sarah Williams. She is the brains of the operation. She's also very intelligent and tends to screw around with like mechanics and electronics and that kind of thing. She is the Miggy doll Gina head, and she is on a Volks body, which works very well together. And I started the cyberpunk crew because I wanted more dolls that I could do like the little crown and like stuff like that. I wanted more easier to find stuff. It's really hard to find fantasy stuff in this genre of doll hobby. You got to make it all yourself. So, and a lot of the clothes I really like as well. So this gentleman here, he is the vampire elf L from Lutz. Again, only 68 of this version of head were made with like the large ears. He definitely needs a better wig. This one's just way too big. It looks like a mop, so I'm probably going to have to order some viscose and make a wig for him soon. So what I'll do is I will make a video on how to do that. It's actually quite easy. And he was painted by my friend Jade again. And so he's kind of like the second in command. Him and Sarah are a couple. So is the next guy here, which is Zach. So one thing I'm quite proud of in this area is this window. The city is actually set back quite far, and then the light changing makes it look like the lights of the city are changing. So I'm going to turn this down so you can see. So that I just used a piece of plastic that I got off of a frame from a secondhand store, and then I purchased a background from Amazon, which it's kind of velvety, and then it's just an LED light that changes color, and it just makes it look like the city lights are moving and changing, and I never turn this off. I love it too much. So alright, so let's get back to who they are. So this lovely gentleman here on the side, his name is Zach Malkova. He is the brawn of this group. If that guy shows up at your door, he will be the last thing that you see. He's covered head to toe in tattoos, and I found him on the marketplace once, and then he disappeared, and I was just kicking my own butt for not purchasing him because like I really liked him a lot. The way his hair is done, it is glued to his head, but I just found that like just the way that his presentation was perfect. So when he popped up on the marketplace again, I literally jumped at the chance, and I was so glad that I was able to get him. Let's see, he's got tattoos on his hands as well, on his neck. And so he's a Ringdoll Norman 2.0. The numbers do make a difference because they do look a little bit different as they redo things. But I just like how angry he is. Like I said like a million times, I love my crabby boys. Isn't he gorgeous? Anyways, Ringdoll, yes. Give me all the Ringdolls. Okay, so this is my very last area. This is my steampunk / diesel punk crew. Gears of Eldoria is what their books are eventually going to be called, but those aren't until way farther in the future. So I still have a lot of stuff to work out with them. And so we'll start over here with this guy. So this is Felix. He is a scientist. He's human, just like the other three are human in the cyberpunk realm. But he's very intelligent, and in the Gears of Eldoria, human birth is not something that happens anymore by scientific design. And so if you want to have children, you're going to have to do it in the black market way unless you have lots of money. And this guy here, he will clone some children for you. And so he is an iOS acid, but he's on a Ringdoll body. iOS is immortality of soul. And the little baby he's holding is just one of the package I got with like $5 for 120 bucks. It was an amazing deal, which is why I have them. But he's just a blue fairy baby, so I just have all the babies over here because of the story of cloning. So I really love his grumpy little face, and that was the main reason why I got him. Immortality of Soul. It's harder to find the acid on the market, ASYD, but you can get the Immortality of Soul Says and Mez a little bit easier, things like that. They do still sell dolls as well. So down here, we got our little comfy crew on their pillow. And so the guy on the left is Klaus. He is a Delph sleeping Wusu vampire. It's a little bit more difficult to find those guys unmodded. A lot of people wanted a Wusu. They only made like 300, and so a lot of people took the vampire heads and opened their eyes so that they could have an open-eyed Wusu. So yeah, he's a little bit more rare, I feel like. And then on the left is Theodus Montgomery III Esquire. He's a little bit pretentious, as you can tell, but these two boys help Felix with his cloning by taking care of the babies, taking care of life around them. And so the babies from left to right are just two blue fairy dolls, and then a doll's own baby on Theodus's arm there. And so the last thing I wanted to show you is one of my favorite things. I'm going to have to turn down the lights though. And that is Cryo Baby. So I just took a jar and then I glued string to the top, invisible string, and then I gave him a little bit of light so it looks like he's floating in the jar, and then around the outside I just put a little bit of fantasy film to kind of give it a shimmer to make it look like he's in some water. And he is a Doll Zone baby, so yeah, that's Cryo Baby. So I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel. I hope to see you again someday, and we're going to do some doll stories, some like modding, and I don't know, all sorts of stuff. I'm going to teach you everything that I know about ball jointed dolls. I've been doing this hobby since 2006. And again, if you have any questions, you can just go ahead and drop me a line underneath this video. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more BJD content. Thank you so much.